morning, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of the Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. She is Acacia Clement. I'm Andy Serling, and it's an absolutely glorious day. And I got to tell you, considering all we worried about, and we did get the rain after the race yesterday, and the fact that it didn't start raining until about a half an hour after we were done racing, it felt like the first good break we've gotten with weather in Saratoga in about 2 years.
I had literally pulled into my parking spot, and that's when the rain started. I was like, this is like the best timing ever. But yes, very thankful for that. And it didn't rain that long either. We're on the turf today, which is wonderful. And it's cooled down a little bit, given how humid it was yesterday. It was great. But it just goes to show you, I mean, this is so Saratoga that things can change so quickly. So Mother Nature and the racing gods have been kind to us as far as the weather so far.
Agreed, and hopefully things will continue as the forecast is good for the weekend. You never know, as Acacia says, but things look very good. And we have left the rails out 18 feet, so we'll move them back to 0 tomorrow. I think they felt that it was a better way to protect with a little bit of rain for the big races tomorrow as well. I even got a shoe shine.
Did you?
I couldn't get it yesterday because I was afraid that getting in the rain.
Let's see.
Shoe shine on the other
can
side.
can?
Looks good.
Oh, looking
the other
nice.
side of by the racing office.
Very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'm ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Excited?
Yeah.
I know.
Very
So
excited.
am I. It's really just exciting.
It's fun.
And you know,
it was so fun seeing everybody yesterday. You know, there were a lot of fans out here, which was great. And I'm sure it's just going to keep building. And yeah, I'm excited.
It's such a happy place.
It is.
You know, if you can't find a way to be happy in Saratoga, I don't know where you can be happy. And I know so many of our fans and so many terrific fans that are so generous to us. Also do want to mention, you know, obviously we had some technical issues yesterday, but without the hard work of our team behind the scenes, and there's too many names to list, but you know, David and John and Veronica who's showing up on the set, they're just some of the people that do such a great job. And obviously, it's difficult when things go down, and we want to give you the best product possible. But the fact that they could get us set up on the other set in just a matter of minutes shows how hard those people work and the great job they do day in and day out, year in and year out.
It's incredible. And I always say people would be amazed if they knew behind the scenes the number of hours of shows that we do with just the limited number of people that are there to do the work and do it well. And then the team behind the scenes is second to none.
Right. The hard work is being done by people not named Acacia and not named Andy. Anyhow, we will get on with things. Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member, no better time than the present. Use the promo code Belmont25. We'll give you a free $25 bet for the Belmont Stakes, which of course will be run tomorrow, a little before 7 o'clock, and that $200 sign-up match bonus. We have, as we did yesterday, the first race profit boost, 20% bonus on the first race of the Belmont at Saratoga, Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. I have opted in for that. It's pretty easy. What else do we have, Eddie? We have so many wagers. We have day doubles, New York into the Belmont Stakes, Acorn into the Belmont Stakes. That's the DK horse Acorn, the Intercontinental into the Belmont, as well as the Just a Game into the Belmont. There's a 2-day pick 5, there's a 2-day pick 6, and an all-turf triple play. Check out all the information over at belmontstakes.com/special. And finally, we are on from 12 to 6 on FS2, and we'll switch over to FS1 for the final hour to show the New York and, of course, that Acorn, and we're looking forward to talking about all those races. So Acacia and I will get started, and we'll go to a replay of a horse that both Acacia and I have picked near rolling along.
I was so ready, to make my argument. I was all set, and then I looked at the picks, and I was like, of course.
She's
we
lying.
picked the same horse.
She copied my picks. She's just a liar. Don't listen to anything. I've been fooled by her in the past. I'm not buying it. So go ahead.
So this is a rolling along second-time starter for Josie Carroll. This horse is getting blinkers on, hesitated a little bit at the start, and I just thought he looked so uncomfortable. He had his ears pinned at the beginning of the race as well, just not looking settled. He was hanging late on the left lead. He was the only horse that was involved in the pace to hang in there, and when he finally did switch, he really was game to be run down, but I thought it was a very good effort for his first race.
And one of the things also, and we've talked about how they have the dirt training track at Woodbine as well. This horse also, as you probably know, was trained down in Florida at Palm Meadows. So obviously this horse has worked extensively on the dirt in the past. And I just feel that Josie Carroll is not coming here just because she feels like being here for Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. You know, when Careless Jewel, who's a little before your time maybe, when she won the Alabama so impressively. So I kind of have some faith in her. But by no means is this going to be an easy race. I mean, you've obviously got Commander in Truth, and I'm curious to see what he does. The 5, who I have to imagine will be favored in here by post time, though right now he's not, because he comes out of the race, got a huge figure, and Unmatched Wisdom, who won that race impressively, could be a very good
Yeah.
one, but maiden breakers can always, fast ones can be good ones. A lot of them don't turn out to be, unfortunately.
And I'm curious to see what the future holds for him. And this is a horse he's disappointed me a bit so far in his 2 starts. And Commander of Truth, I've mentioned before, I remember seeing him at the 2-year-old sales, and he was one that kind of dazzled with that workout and selling for $675,000. And last time out, you could see that he had to be worked on throughout the race. And I'm wondering if that's a main reason with the addition of blinkers, maybe to just be a little bit more receptive, get into the race a little bit more.
At least he improved a lot
He
last
did
time from his
improve a
debut.
lot. He definitely did run so much more. But he did lose second in that battle. And for me, I thought there were some other kind of interesting new faces
Talk about
in
the
here.
3, who you have second and I have fourth.
The 3 pentathlon is coming in off of a layoff for Shig McGahee. They added the blinkers last time out. It was definitely a step in the right direction, but I've always felt that this is a horse who just needed some time to kind of grow into himself, and so I'm curious to see him back as a 3-year-old.
And in that maiden race yesterday, where Todd Pletcher won with that heavily bet firster, the part of the entry, and I do think that horse ran the best race. It was very fast paced, but Shug's firster ran third, the horse with big turf pedigree. That horse, there's an argument that horse could have won the race. Now, whether or not you would say ultimately he ran better than the winner is another discussion, but that horse ran very, very well yesterday. The 4 Illuminaire, a first-timer, I always look at the Centennial horses running in the year for Todd Pletcher. We'll see how much money this one takes. You've got another Chad Brown firster, Clever Mischief as well. I didn't see a ton of pedigree to speak of with that one other than being an Into Mischief.
I will just mention that Clever Mischief's last work on the main track here at Saratoga was in company with Tuscan Gold. And obviously Tuscan Gold did not enter into the Belmont
Stakes.
Stakes.
Sign that they kept him out of the Belmont.
That's
for
what
this
I'm wondering.
horse.
But I remember watching it live, and I'm like, I don't know who the other horse is. And I saw it's an unraced horse, and I had at that moment thought it was a little bit of a knock against Tuscan Gold because I thought the unraced horse was going pretty well in the work. Definitely second best on the gallop out, but during the work was going well. So maybe it's a good sign. Maybe it's not.
You don't know for sure, but it's hard to imagine that Chad Brown brought out some bum to run against Tuscan Gold in the workout.
To decide if
so
he's
we'll
going
see
to
what
go to the
happens.
Belmont.
Good information
Yeah.
as always. Race number 2. We'll start with Arthur's Ride's win 2 back, and you are clearly going to try to wire the field with Arthur's Ride.
I am. And looking at him physically, talking about workmates, his last work was in company with Batten Down, who also did not go into the Belmont Stakes. But this is just such a big, solid horse that I think will appreciate added distance. And he has the speed from the inside. Make it simple, Junior. Off you go.
Yeah, I have no big problem with that. Obviously, I've got him third, and I think there's 3 major contenders in here in the 1, 5, and 9, and we'll talk about all of them as well as some others. And his last race, it doesn't seem like he really handled the track that well.
I agree.
It was a big pace in there. He did make a real move, and he stopped. It worried me a little bit. I don't have a knock on him. I think he's a very logical horse, as you do. As far as leading contender, he can win, and I guess you could argue that leading contender at least has a consistency that others in this field lack, and I think we may have lost the graphics here. My picks here are 9, 5, 1, 3. Acacia?
1, 5, 9, 6.
All right, so we both have leading contender second, and I don't have a problem with him. I could see him winning this race. Shouldn't have a problem with a 1.25 miles. I was disappointed in his last race. I know that Bean Duke is good, and this is his race 2 back, where I thought he ran fine. Kuchar got a very good trip. Maybe he didn't want to come up the inside this day. Maybe the inside wasn't a great place to be, as it turned out. So I thought this was a good effort. I did not love his last effort.
I didn't either. I know that he was bumped up to second through disqualification, a good skate when he was hurted in the stretch there, and Ben Duke wiring the field. We're going to see him running tomorrow. Obviously, very talented horse for Belmont. But I just felt that yes, he ran well 2 back behind Kuchar, but then last time out as well, he was kind of swapping leads. He was also a little bit erratic himself. He just didn't really have that punch in the stretch I would have liked to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think the distance will be his friend. And listen, maybe Arthur's ride last race is indicative that he's gone a little bit in the wrong direction. He is a horse that had a lot of issues. On the other hand, Belmont's not bringing him back if he's not doing well and he gets a fast track. I'm interested in Tap Shoes here, so I put him on top. It's kind of odd, seeing him run the turf last time because he's really a dirt horse.
Well.
And it's almost like it was sort of a prep race race for him, and he ran well in it. This horse had run a couple of very good races behind. I mean, he was very unlucky to lose to Red Route 1 in that race down at Oaklawn, and those are races as a 3-year-old that are good enough to compete here. So if he can improve for Brad Cox, I thought he was an interesting player. I've always kind of liked this horse. He's a Tappet. The distance shouldn't be a problem. So I went 9-5-1.
And he is the perfect candidate to be a gelding. He comes back as a gelding now, and I think that is really going to help him. I remember seeing him last year. He ran in the Belmont Stakes, ran it in Saratoga. He was screaming. He was all over the place. He was totally washed out. I think the gelding's really going to help him.
I don't know what it is exactly, but when Acacia says somebody's a perfect candidate to be gelded, I get a little bit uncomfortable up here as we move on to
He's
race
like, don't
number
look at me.
3. It's too late for me, Acacia. Don't worry about it. Race number 3, my picks are 5-9-4-1. You went?
I'm 9-4-5-2.
Okay, so we're very much on the same page here. You have the 9 on top, and why don't we talk about Mo Rewards to start before getting to a replay?
Louis Saez climbing aboard Mo Rewards. He gets back to the turf. He shows much more speed when he's able to be on the grass. I know that he's not really a winning type, but this is a horse that's been going a 1.25 miles recently on the grass. I think getting back to the 9 furlongs on the turf is the right spot for him. Hopefully he can be in a good position early.
Gets a significant rider upgrade to Louis Saez getting back to the turf. The one thing that worried me about him and why I put him second is he's 0 for 12 on the turf. That bothered me a little bit, but he has clearly run races, and he has not had a chance on the turf for Mike Maker as well. So I think there's a lot of things to like about him. I have absolutely no argument. But as we show the replay of Victor's Valiant and Addicted to You, I'm glad when I saw this result, I was thinking, I'm glad, and he stumbled there and get stayed out, that I wasn't there on Kentucky Derby Day, because I really didn't do any real work on these cards, because I am certain at 22-1 I would have bet this horse. That was
a tough finish
this
there.
This is a funny race, because the reality is, though, that he's not the only one that ran well. Victor's Valiant ran well in this race also. I don't want to knock his performance. He was wide a bit in there. But at the end of the day, Addicted to You absolutely should have won. It was no fault of Kendrick. The horse broke a little slow and then just got cut off after the start. But he has clearly improved dramatically since going to Horacio de Paz. And we saw Horacio have 2 horses really run well, both second-time stars, one off a win, the one that was second in that fast race to Ways and Means, and the one that finished second to Todd Pletcher's firster we mentioned. And, I'm a big fan of the job Horacio does. I know that your father-in-law likes nothing better than to make fun of him and give him a hard time endlessly.
He's like you. He gives a hard time to the people that he likes.
I'm going to defend Horacio because of how mean your father-in-law is to him. But I think he's. I mean, you obviously agree, and our picks are back up. I know the horse isn't going to be a fraction of 22-1 last time, but he has clearly
really
improved,
ran well.
even winning on the dirt.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the number 4, Victor's Valiant. I don't think there's much to say. The horse is just logical.
He is, and he has tactical speed, too. That was a tough bob that he lost last time out. It was a different trip than Addicted to You, who was put up against it, obviously, at the beginning. But I thought both ran well out of that race.
He is 1 for 20. I think the one Big Night Out is a little bit interesting in here. I know everyone see Claimed Away. Yeah. This horse has a ton of pedigree, and I don't want to let this horse win this race and not get something in here, because this horse is the kind of horse that people are going to ignore because of the trainer, and Oscar may have made a very good claim on a horse that has a big turf pedigree.
Absolutely agree. Be curious to see him.
Race number 4. Thank you for having the graphics back up. I'm sure, Eddie, you had nothing to do with that, so you get no credit for that. No, Eddie, you probably had something to do with it going down. You just have nothing to do with it getting fixed. We'll take a look at Lucency and Debate to start this out, and you have Lucency. No, that's race. We've gone to race 4, Eddie. Try to keep up. Try to keep up. I know it's hard. What did you do in this race? I didn't use Lucency. I went 4, 5, 6, 8. I've got Debate 4th.
I know. I with Lucency, ran well. Mighty Atlas did come back to win again with an 88 buyer speed figure, kind of comparable to what he ran that day. And look, Lucency's last 2 races have certainly been fine. He did have to drop into the 40,000 and came right back, and he ran a good race last time out.
Best race he ever ran, frankly.
Best race he ever ran. But he's always been a horse that I just find hard to trust.
Yeah, I'm not, and I'll tell you something else, and I'm, risking incurring the wrath of Toby Sheets here. This horse ran back on the proverbial training of the prior trainer, Rick Dutrow, in 9 days, and now comes back 5 weeks later.
And it's a smart entry move.
And absolutely, I applaud trainers that do that and do that a lot. And I think debate will be better with less distance. I'm frankly just a little bit sick of him. You have the 5 Proven Hope on top.
I do. I was between Proven Hope and Nota, who you like. I just couldn't put Nota on top.
He doesn't win. I get it.
Because he just is always right there and doesn't get the job done.
I'll tell you one thing, though. The scratch of the number 7 horse significantly helps him.
Definitely.
Now, we'll see how much speed Music Maestro shows coming in from Oaklawn, but it's going to help him, that scratch.
Yeah, I just really like the cutback in distance for Proven Hope.
No argument with that. And he's, he's basically maintained his form for a long, long time, and I think less distance is going to do him well in here. Own the Field, we'll take a look at his race at Oaklawn as he cuts back from 2 turns at Oaklawn. And Auto Glide, who won this race, came back and improved his buyer figure 6 points out of here. So I don't have a big argument against this horse with Mike Maker. I think he's a dangerous horse coming in for Flying P.
And that was his first time with blinkers as well. And definitely seemed to help him. Took over, just run down late by, obviously, as you mentioned, a horse that flattered, coming back to win. I thought it was a nice effort from this horse as well. We've got Dennis Crocker, cameraman from Gulfstream, checking in, saying hello.
We love Dennis.
We love Dennis.
We love Dennis. A fine man. Hello, Dennis. Thank you for checking in. Okay, that's race number 4. We'll break after the 6th race, by the way, of our today's 12-race card. The 5th race, I see that we are on the exact same page here with the number 2 Script. I'll let you talk about him.
Well, cutting back in distance on the main track. It was off the turf at Gulfstream last time, so was running on the Tapeta in that race. But I thought 2 starts back, this was a horse who just kind of made a move and then re-engaged with foes, just kind of running to me like a horse that would actually benefit from a cut back in distance. Freshened up a bit, coming into this spot. Obviously, Grand Motion had a good day yesterday. First-time starter that ran very well in that turf maiden race, and then obviously winning the Gold Cup later in the day. But I was curious about sprinting on the turf for the first time.
I'd like to head over to the Melbourne Cup with Graham. I wonder if he has room in his luggage or something for me. He actually went there a few years ago. I remember when Graham went there. We'll take a look at Graham. It's a small staff, a synthetic to turf and sprints. He's 3 for 9. The thing I found amazing was he's got 8 of them hitting the board in here, which I thought was fascinating. And I agree. I think this is a horse that wants less distance and is clearly a better turf horse. And he ran as good a race as ever run, albeit on synthetic, last time out. But we know he's a turf horse.
He's a good sprinter as well.
So Axthelm's no bum either. So
yeah, for sure.
I thought he was dangerous like you did in this race. And, I know that we both want to take the number 12 in here, Senbei, and a horse that Acacia named, by the way. And I didn't show the replay. Did I? Yeah, wait a second.
This is 2 back, right?
This is 2 back, his last turf race. And I thought Fluid Situation also coming out of this race. And where did he finish that day? Third
that day.
And I like him, and we'll get to him in a second. But as you can see with Senbei, he just got completely and totally buried. And you had been telling me well before he ran his turf debut that he'd been working great on the turf, and he ran maybe the best race he ever ran. In fact, definitely the best race he ever ran at 7 down at Belmont. You and I just couldn't believe we lost, but Bring Me a Check turned out to be pretty good. And I don't think he's impossible either here, getting back to a sprint, by the way, because last time out, he just had no chance pressing Dancing Buck.
It's a tough post.
Yeah. I just worry, and I also worry he just misses so much time. Now, he has been rained off a lot.
He has.
They've tried to get him in, but and I love this horse, and I know you have a personal love of him, and I hope he runs well. Just couldn't take him on top.
That's totally fair. He had a little bit of an odd trip last time at Woodbine as well, where he was kind of taken back, looked like he was done, and then he re-rallied a bit. But he does seem to love the turf.
He
has
is
no
a good turf
pedigree
horse.
For it,
and
but he just moves well over it.
I'll say one thing about post 12. He's not likely to get himself caught up in traffic. Where he's
hopefully
less
for once.
So, I mean, I don't think either one of us would be surprised if he wins. You've got Clear the Air, and we'll take a look at his race at Keeneland 2 back. When he won, you have him second.
Yes, this race at Keeneland 2 back was fast. It was impressive as well. He settled behind 3 horses who were on the front end, but he took over with great energy and just ran on from the rest of this field at a huge price. And then second behind Bound for Nowhere is the favorite last time at Churchill. We've seen Will Walden shipping horses into New York and running well, too. We've seen some nice performances from his horses. They've been well spotted. So I thought leave him out at your own risk.
No, I agree. I mean, he might be the most logical horse in this race. I think that Bring Me a Check is a horse that I didn't use, but I could see him being effective in this race.
This is a tough race.
This is
very competitive.
Excellent. Listen, I wouldn't dismiss completely Run Curtis Run.
What about Mischievous Angel, real quick?
I don't like Mischievous Angel.
I don't either.
I think this is a million times better field than he ran last time.
He got a fast race.
He did, but he's going to have to run better than winning a photo against Alexis
Agreed.
Zorba to win this race.
Agreed.
I have a thing for fluid situation, and I was going to annoy John Terranova, and I didn't, though I'm sure I'm annoying him enough, and tell him, please don't scratch this horse in the dirt.
I know.
This horse is on a dead rail, too, back at Acorn. This is a horse that had massive excuses in dirt races, and I think he's a really, really good horse. I know he's got a lot of speed, and this is not exactly a race that suits a horse with a lot of speed, but I'm just a fan of fluid situation. I think he's a horse that has the ability to be effective here, and he's going to be a big price. I have a thing for this horse. I'm a big fan.
It's fair.
And I feel like he's a horse that has, more often than not, unfortunate things have happened that have not allowed him to show how good he can be.
I think you can make a case for a lot of horses in this race.
No, this is a terrific race. I'm so glad this race stayed on.
Me too.
It's going to break my heart if
know,
they came
me
off.
too.
Or Senbei, you know.
I know.
It was going to get to the point where we weren't going to let Senbei enter because that automatically meant that he wasn't.
Just let him go jog on the turf out there.
Run on the grass. Race number 6, and as we said, we'll take a break after today's 6th race. Let's start with Spirit Prince, the horse that we both have third. I'm not against him at all, and this is him winning the Central Park last time. It seems like the Clement barn, I think I put the stat up, we'll show it afterwards, these 4 to 8 month layoffs and turf routes, they often need a race, somewhat by design, but I'll tell you something, he put it together in this race, and he is the horse to beat, regardless of where you and I put him.
He is. Well, it was tough because he ran really well on debut, and then races kept getting rained off the turf with a lot of rain, and there just weren't really spots for him to go as far as a maiden race, so he was kind of forced to run in all those stakes as a maiden, and that's actually the only win because there were just not many opportunities for him to run on the grass.
No, I agree. Now, you can see those stats, and we'll put them up. I have no problem with them. Now, with your horse, and we'll show the replay of Army Officer's last race, I just hope, does Frankie Dettori know he has to stick around today?
I know.
You think he's getting enough abuse about that?
He definitely is getting a lot of abuse. Definitely.
I think he's a good-natured guy who probably has no problem with it whatsoever.
His daughter's getting married on Monday. Maybe his mind is there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, he should be there.
Yeah,
Well, he should be on here. I'm
she
sure it's on here,
wanted this
too.
weekend, and he said absolutely not. But this horse, not quickest out. Also, it looked to me, too, and sometimes this can happen when you see a horse switch surfaces. He was a little bit wonky with his leads throughout early on. You know, he kind of was on the wrong lead early into the first turn, and just sometimes if horses are uncomfortable when switching surfaces, and it takes them a few strides to kind of get into it. He looked to me to be a horse like that could improve second time on the grass.
I have absolutely no issue with him. We saw this race in a very similar manner. I just want to give Stolen Magic another chance in the turf.
Yeah, finally back there.
I don't know exactly what to do with that Agate Road race. And while Agate Road may have disappointed at a high level, he's still a pretty good horse. And, you know, relative to these horses especially, and he ran very well that day. And while Linda sort of switched to the dirt, and he's run well in the dirt, and he's more of a dirt sprinter, oddly. His race going long on the turf, he gets the rail in here, and I don't know. I thought he'd be ahead of Spirit Prince. I know the pace projector's a little iffy on that, but I thought you're going to see a situation where Jose Lezcano goes to the front, and I thought he had a good chance to wire the field.
I was in the paddock for his last race in Barksdale. Another Will Walden horse was very impressive that day, but I'd written down that this horse, Stolen Magic, had really done well making the jump from 2 to 3. So I'm very curious
I
about
thought
him.
he was a lead pipe cinch last time.
Yeah.
And obviously lost, so I was wrong, but I didn't feel like I was wrong after the race. I just was
horse
wrong
was
about
just-
Barksdale. I
yeah.
didn't realize he was going to run a stakes quality performance. Aaliyah, we both have fourth. I don't want to ignore this horse because there's plenty of pedigree, and this is like turf move up breeding on the dam side with 3 turf winners out of 4, and I think he'll be forward as well.
And interestingly enough, so is half to Script, the Grand Motion horse that we like in the 5th race, half to a horse named Traipsing, who Christoph trained, who was good going long on the turf, finished second in the Long
You're
Island.
going to bring it up again because you know that horse annoys me?
You had her that day.
No.
But my point is, it's
I thought I
long
talked to you
on
about
turf.
Traipsing before. Traipsing is a Clement horse that
by Stroll.
broke her maiden her second start on the synthetic, I think maybe at Presque Isle, I'm
Yeah.
imagining, and then made her next start in the turf, which was her second start in the turf, at Gulfstream and paid 41 and
she's a
change.
huge price.
And her only other turf race, she had run behind that bum Newspaper of Record.
Right,
And I remember her winning, and I had meant to bet her, and we were talking about it. Newspaper Record's first foal, by the way, a Franco ran yesterday, heavily touted
exciting.
at Leopardstown. Finished second, though, to another horse trained by Aidan O'Brien.
Okay.
But, I'm interested in seeing how this horse runs.
Yeah.
You know, Todd Pletcher's trying Pirate on the turf. I got to tell you, this horse, I mean, I don't see any pedigree for turf,
This
which
one's
maybe is a good
national
sign.
treasure. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like Todd's getting a little bit desperate maybe with him and trying
Maybe.
something new, but I've seen him have these horses run, obviously. And I also thought Sanderson, you know, is switching. I mean, obviously
agree.
Grand Motion, but Cherie DeVos horses have been running exceptionally
Agree.
well, to say the least.
Yeah.
See what happens? Those are the first 6. The late pick, the pick 6, and lots of other stuff, including 3 Grade 1s and 4 stakes after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
We're back. She's Acacia. I am Andy. Race number 7, kicking off the pick 6. And we'll start with a conversation about the horse to beat, Money's Gold. And I'll tell you something about Money's Gold. I think all of us might be being a little bit too much of wise guys because nobody wants to pick this horse. And
I know.
her 8 bells, which we'll see here. And I think it's also important to note with her, she's back on Lasix. And
She
the 3 races she ran on Lasix, 2 of them were real barn burners. I'm going to show you a stat, which is one of the reasons I put her second here, where Todd's numbers coming off 6 to 12-month laughs aren't great. But if the good Money's Gold shows up, she'll win this race from here to Schuylerville.
You know, they got ambitious and ran her in the Acorn going long. She's a sprinter. She doesn't want to do that. And she
ran fine in the Acorn,
She
frankly.
actually ran quite well, all things considered. She dazzled me when I saw her at Tampa. I know it was against Florida Breds, but she was very, very impressive the start of the year. And like you said, running really well in the 8 bells,
I
too.
saw this stat and I thought about it, and then I realized that every single handicapper I read was taking a shot against her. And I said, you know what? We're all trying to be the biggest wise guys in the world, but she'll be a short price. We took other horses, and you have taken the number 3 Roswell as an alternative.
I'm hoping that there is going to be a little bit of pace in here. You've got Kehoe Beach for Wesley Ward. Sam's Treasure, not exactly slow. Majestic Return is out, which is really going to take some of the starch out for sure.
But doesn't Kehoe Beach have to go here?
She
Johnny's
does.
got to
She
go.
does. I mean, she was really hustled last time out.
Ired's riding today, right?
Yes, as far as I know.
We're glad to have Ired back, and we're happy, obviously, people concerned. We're concerned about everybody's health and all the riders, and glad to hear that Ired will be riding the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, very much so.
Irad.
So tough athletes, these jockeys in the room. But Roswell, a little bit less distance, coming back after trying the 7.5 at Churchill last time out. And she was a little bit high-headed out of the gate that day as well. So I thought that her 2 races earlier in the year were pretty strong and could sit a nice trip.
No, I have the one thing I'll say, I didn't love the field she was in last time.
No, that's fair.
That
that's
bothered
totally fair.
me. That's what because I considered her as a top pick. I'm not against her in here, obviously. I've gone to Sam's Treasure, and we'll take a look at Sam's Treasure last time out at Keeneland. I thought, you know, this horse broke her maiden here last year. In fact, that was the race that the Pletcher filly that set her in the grass was Camera. Camera was the heavy favorite when she broke her maiden. Yeah. I actually thought she ran pretty well. I thought it was a very live race she comes out of. Now she draws outside where she could get that stalking trip before. She's 1 rating, and I thought she'd be dangerous here. Gets Joel Rosario. It's interesting, though. John Velasquez takes the other one for Wesley Ward.
Yeah.
Is that a knock on her? I don't really know. I don't want to get too caught up in why certain riders are on certain horses. And also remember, both riders have the same agent.
Exactly. And I think you're doing okay with Joel Rosario and the other one, too. But yes, Johnny did ride both last time out. And as far as Kehoe Beach, as we mentioned, she was hustled to the front and was much the best that day. And I do wonder what kind of tactics they'll do with the presence of Money's Gold. Money's Gold is very fast.
I'm glad to see her back.
Me
because she's potentially Money's Gold, the kind of horse that can run in races, you know, like the Honorable Miss, like the Ballerina. And we want to see the good horses racing, and I hope she runs well. But like you, I'm going to take a small shot against race number 8. Race number 8 was the one race that was dramatically affected by scratches. Now, General Partner is going to run in tomorrow's first race, so his entry made a run, but you lost a lot of speed coming out of this race. And as we show the replay of El Capi, one of the more exciting wins, and maybe he'll be the next one to add his name to the list of maiden breakers on Cigar Mile Day that win grade 1s, he is going to dramatically help by the scratches in here. The problem for me is I can't take a horse that's now going to be a short price, that's coming off a huge bias win where we saw many results exaggerated that day. And I'm not saying he can't win, and he may be a very good horse, and I'm happy he's back. And listen, maybe he will be that Grade 1 winner. But this performance, I want to see it again.
Me too. And he does have the layoff to contend with, where you have some other horses that have some recency in here. He was very impressive that day, that's for sure, but he was a generous price at 13-1 that afternoon. We talked about the speed bias. We discussed it a lot with the door knock Sierra Leone performances and why that elevated Sierra Leone so much. Exactly. Hoist the Gold.
Hoist the Gold.
Yeah, you downgraded him a little.
Hoist the Silver was somebody else. There was a Hoist the Silver.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hoist the Gold. But he used the same story. So, yes, I totally agree with you, and I felt exactly the same. I guess we agree once again today
well, we
with
both
Jefferson
took Jefferson Street. Well, he's
a
very logical horse in here if you're trying to beat the six.
Races. Absolutely.
Yes. I agree. And, this is a horse that was highly regarded in his debut, and then he ran to BU, and he's just run fast races. Unfortunately, Raging Torrent didn't come here for the Woody Stevens like we had expected for Doug O'Neill, who just ran. I mean, he ran the biggest fig of anybody on the entire Kentucky Derby Day card.
I know.
And even the second horse, Discreet Mischief, I think is Brad Cox. That horse had run a huge figure at the time. Is it Brad, I think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That horse run a big figure in a prior race.
Good.
So I just think he's super logical in here. But we both also think that contrary thinking is dangerous. And I wish I should have gone back when I knew General Partner, when I saw he got entered Saturday, wasn't going to run, and shown contrary thinking's race, because I know the figure didn't come back that strong, but you got to worry a little bit because he had a serious lug-in problem.
He did.
I mean, Javier Castro did an amazing job with him.
He was kind of ducking in, refusing to switch leads.
Javier couldn't ride him in the whole stretch. I mean, he ran by those horses on sheer talent.
Yeah.
Javier did everything he could just to sort of keep them together down the stretch.
Yeah.
He might be okay, this horse, but obviously has to get a lot faster.
For sure. And you would hope to see a maturity step forward in his second start, be a little bit more professional in the running of the race.
You hope so.
Yeah.
And you're not going to give up on Eliminate. I've liked this horse at different times. I just keep waiting for him to show up with a good race.
I know.
He's got to just, I thought he could be good, and I thought he'd be okay sprinting, but he just can't seem to run a relatively fast race.
He had a lot of buzz at the beginning of his career. This is the last time because he's at a stakes company. It's not exactly an easy field that he's facing in here, but this is the last time.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Listen, I gave him a long look. I just keep waiting for that faster race. The stakes portion of the card kicks off with the 9th race, the Intercontinental, presented by MTV Solutions. And listen, obviously you have a connection with it. It's being trained by Christophe and your husband, Miguel. Roses for Deborah is an extraordinarily good horse. And I'm going to imagine that they flirted with the idea of running her in the Jaipur.
Absolutely.
She's that good.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan, and this is one favorite I have absolutely no interest in trying to beat, especially with the horse who was second to her, Love Reigns, coming out.
She hit the top of the stretch at Keeneland last time, and you could say she probably wasn't 100% cranked up for that race either. And so I said, oh no, is she going to idle? And then she just kicked in that acceleration powered by. She has a lot of talent. She's 2 for 2 here at Saratoga as well. She really seems to handle this course very well.
I mean, watching her here last summer, I got the impression that she could be the best turf sprinter in the country. It's 5 furlongs, a little short for her. Is this where this year's Breeders' Cup at Del Mar?
Del Mar.
Is it 5 again?
As well.
But she is very good, and I know she's a huge favorite in here, but she's supposed to get some pace. You've got Le Milagro, who, by the way, Le Milagro is one of the cooler horses out there.
Is.
But with Coffee Maker in the race and Future is Now, as fast as she is, it's hard to see her getting clear on the front end.
Agreed. And once she was kind of headed last time, she did fade a bit. I know that she was off the layoff, and she's obviously much better when she's able to control things sprinting on the turf.
And we'll look at Coffee Maker with that big fig win here last summer, but the key to that was she was able to get loose. And while I'm sure Louis Sai is going to look to be aggressive, Le Milagro is a very, very quick horse and a hard horse to outrun. So while I respect her talent, and this was a very fast race, relatively speaking, I just can't see her getting the right trip, and that's why I put the number 7 Medalla Match second here for Cherie. It just seems second time for Cherie Javot, and she ran that overcharged race. I thought she got a terrific ride by Brian Hernandez, and there's a stat for Wesley where he has very good numbers in these turf sprints coming off layoffs. He brings them with a purpose, and I wanted to show this. I just worry that the scenario might not be good for her.
I agree with the pace scenario, and it's easy to look at these kinds of horses and say, well, she's just not one that stays on the racetrack, and you can certainly say that, but Wesley does this. This is not an uncommon move for Wesley.
Taking big positions against Wesley Ward on things that Wesley does well
Yeah.
is not always the best move. He
Yes.
is very shrewd, very sharp, and he knows how to win races. The number 7 I mentioned is one of the 2 horses coming out of the race, along with Run for the Hills. I thought both of them got extremely
Yep,
good rides.
they did.
I thought the one got a little better trip. I'm just going to hope that maybe Vidala Match moves up a little bit more a second time for sure.
Certainly fair. I thought Future Is Now did run well last time.
Agreed.
I liked that she was able to stalk a little bit and settle, and I thought that she ran well against that competition. It was a softer side of good turf at Pimlico that day, but overall she's been relatively consistent. And
I mean, the turf wasn't good at Pimlico on Preakness weekend?
Softer
Really? I didn't know
side.
that, but thank you for cluing me
Yeah.
in on that. I was just so confused about that.
She's
And the track was sealed and the turf was good. Come
It's amazing how
I
that
can't miss
happens.
that opportunity.
It's amazing
I
how
blame
that
you for
happens.
that. That's the Intercontinental, and the last 3 are Grade 1s on today's card. The Just a Game, and I understand Chad Brown's got 5 in here. Should he have left 3 of them in the barn and had a 4-horse field?
Yeah.
He's got the horse and he runs them. And we'll start with, how do you pronounce Boot Cachet?
Boutique, I
There's
just
no,
I forgot.
there's no,
Boutique
there's
Cachet.
there's no
Cachet.
accent mark.
I know, but there are no accents in racehorse names.
Okay.
That's why that horse Fouette, where there is technically an accent, everybody was calling Fouette, but it's actually
I
Fouette.
was not,
But
because I had
know.
you to tell me what
Yes.
it was. Otherwise, I'd
I
have
know.
got the name completely wrong.
My
We'll take a
husband's
look
probably
at the
gonna text me
race.
and say I'm mispronouncing this, but
in
yes, it's Hidden Beauty.
Well, watch the Jenny Wiley. The one thing I'll say is she's not likely to be the speed today, and when surge capacity didn't break, she's able to get the lead here. And I got to tell you, if somebody was going to make a film about merry-go-round races,
This
has
is
there
it.
ever been one that was more of a merry-go-round race than Jenny Wiley?
No, they went like that around the whole way. Yeah, I mean, look, Frankie Dettori did a great job that day putting this mare on the front end, and she was able to take them every step of the way and pick up a Grade 1 victory. So well done.
And listen, sometimes these horses win at big prices, and you tend to be dismissive of them. She's 6-1 in the line the next time, and she's not a horse that hasn't run well without the lead.
Yes. Oh no. She's
So,
done well.
right, to
Yeah.
assume that she needs the lead to win, she's run a number of good races, so I don't want to discount her.
Yeah.
Like you, I just went in slightly different directions. And we'll go to Gina Romantica in the next one, the horse that you have on top. And she was badly compromised. Now, some may say, well, where has she run her good races when not at Keeneland? And that's reasonably fair,
Yes.
except her Breeders' Cup Mile was pretty good as well. And I don't think it's unfair to think she just needed a start.
I agree, and she got keen with that slow pace last time out with her stablemate wiring the field and the Jenny Wiley, and she was up against it. Just as we talked about there being no movement in the race, she was the one that was really taking the worst of it. I thought that she was a horse that I wanted out of that race stepping forward.
Well, if every horse in here to run their best race,
Right.
she's going to win this race.
She's very
I
talented.
mean, a couple
Yeah.
of her best
Yeah.
races. So I have no argument with that, and I put her second. We obviously saw the race similarly. I want to give a little love to Evie Jets because we love the Cantermachis.
We do.
And we love Evie Jets. And I think with Evie Jets, she stunk last time. There's no
Yeah,
doubt
she
about it.
did.
And I bet her. I don't want to hold races on that turf course at Churchill against good horses. And this is a good horse and an ultra consistent horse. So is it possible she just doesn't have it at 6? It's possible. I don't want to just completely dismiss her because she upset a couple of Chad Brown runners in the Boston Spa last year, and
very
she's
well
an
that day.
overachiever, and she's one of the more popular horses on the grounds as well.
I got a lot of love for Epi Jets.
We all do. Let's take a look at White Beam's race in the Bogey, and you got to think she's going to be the speed today. I thought she ran extremely well in this race. You know, that's the duel with Spirit and Glory. I don't care what the times were; they were moving up
Yeah.
front, and they all just came apart at the end. And it was actually an interesting ride because Irad had to go with Spirit of Glory, and Spirit of Glory, I think Jose was on her, Lescano. If
Yes.
he hadn't gone, the other one would have won. So they both did what they had to do, and it just turned out that Nisi Marie improved off the layoff to get it done under that great time ride by Joel. But I think White Beam could be very dangerous in the front end.
And to be fair, while they were both run down late, they were both fighting it out to the wire. Neither filly stopped running in that spot. So White Beam, who that was off of a bit of a layoff as well, she was in that no-win position, as you mentioned, having to go and attack the pace setter in that kind of position. I thought that she ran very well that day, too.
Now, with Capiche, is it Capiche?
Coppice is how Larry said it last time. So.
Okay. I want to know how Travis said it, but okay.
Yeah.
And Chili Flag, we'll see them running the Distaff Turf last time at Churchill. Listen, Chili Flag is the kind of horse, and these are the kind of horses that Chad Brown has done well with. This is a horse that came here and sort of struggled even in non-winners of ones, and is now as a graded stakes winner. And I know she beat, how is it, Coppice?
Coppice.
But I think even though they both saved ground, they both got very good trips, I think trying to rally inside of horses maybe prevented Coppice from getting that sort of kind of run that she wanted to get her momentum under her. Her second start, she ran fourth behind Inspiral in her prior start. I have a feeling if a horse is going to step forward in this race, it's going to be Coppice.
For me, it was that class, and I had her second, and you had her on top as well. Like you mentioned with Chili Flag, that's always been my question, and she's run well here in the States, but her Euro form, sometimes I think we see horses coming from Europe and just automatically assume that they're better. And I think it's important to look up who they're running against. You see Force to Inspiral. I mean, this is a filly that's been running against the best of the best.
No question about it. Nosh was in her
Yep.
PPs as well via Sistina. And listen, Chili Flag, I mean, you have to give a lot of credit to Chad Brown Barn, what they've done with this horse to get her to be a multiple graded stakes winner. She's improved. But I think the Coppice is the one that's most likely to take a step forward in a competitive race, because the reality is you can recommend something about all of Chad's runners. I was disappointed in Mr. Najoy's race last time out behind these. In fact, I think I bet a few dollars on her in there because she had a good trip as well. But then again, it was at Keeneland, and she did run well behind Mauge when she finished third in the QE2.
She did. She absolutely did. Maybe she's one that needed a race off a little bit of a freshening as well, but I would have liked to see a little bit more from her.
I
that
agree,
day.
but it is that Churchill Downs turf course
Yeah.
where the form can be a little bit unreliable. Race number 11 is the New York presented by Rivers Casino, and I mean, this race,
This is a war of a race.
I mean, I was shocked that we had the same picks in here, but we'll talk about it. But, I mean, this
I
race,
just took the Joseph O'Brien angle.
I never saw this coming.
This is such a competitive race.
and
I'm really, really excited
And
for
I'm
this
so
one.
glad that we didn't get, even though our horse likes soft turf, I'm so glad we didn't get destroyed by rain and not for so many reasons. This is a super fun race. It's interesting that David has Warlike Goddess as the second choice, and David's usually right, and I assume he will be right. And we'll show her win on they got it yielding. I'll say it was soft in the Turf Classic, and obviously Bill Mott probably wouldn't object it, at least if it would be soft for this one race. I'm not of the camp that she's necessarily going to be so bad at a mile and 3/16, and she had a ridiculous trip with no chance in this race to a mile and a quarter at Belmont with the rails down. I just wonder a little bit if overall her form had declined, and this good effort here had much more to do with catching a soft turf. And if she had declined a bit last year, can we really expect her to be good enough this year?
And I think it's worth pointing out that she was entered to start at Keeneland earlier this year and was scratched, and we
She's
didn't
sick,
see
I
her.
think.
Yes,
Minor, nothing minor, but
yeah,
still.
right. But I mean, she's been training. See her out there every morning, and but she's waited to come back to the races, which is a little bit of a question too, as she is a 7-year-old now. And I will say, last year in the New York market segmentation, wired the field, she was totally up against
rails
it.
were down.
Exactly.
She had everything her own
nothing
way.
went wrong for nothing went right for
Yeah,
Warlike
you
Goddess.
could completely throw that race out.
But the long layoff, I do have some questions
Well,
about her.
the other thing to mention is she came up here and lost fair and square to McCulloch.
She did.
And we'll get to McCulloch a little bit as we move on in here, but that kind of bothered me, and
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons, while she was still good, she wasn't necessarily the world
Yeah.
guy. Now, she was ranking that race against
She was.
McCulloch, and we'll see how she does, and she certainly can win here. And like you, I like her a little bit more than English Rose, and we both obviously made a decision to play against English Rose. The bottom line is that, listen, Charlie Appleby doesn't need us to defend him. He's a great trainer, and he's brought good horses here. But his horses are getting massively overbet.
Yes.
We saw it yesterday in the Gold Cup. We've
Siskany.
seen it a number of times. And I didn't like this effort by either her or, frankly, Didia. And I was surprised you have Didia second here because I was disappointed in this effort. And I think that Nacho, her trainer, Grass, felt similarly. She's losing ground in a race where nobody was losing ground.
I agree on that. I'm going to give Didia one more shot because I do like her getting a little bit more distance. And I'll be curious.
She's good.
She's a very good horse as well. I know that she did win on Pegasus Day going a mile and 16th, but I think she just outclassed in that spot.
Fair.
And I think that she is better going a touch longer. So I'm going to give her another chance because of that. And she was also a little bit more forward last time than she usually is.
Do you have a knock on English Rose outside of anything I said, or do you have some other reasons why you left her out?
Well, also, I do wonder about a little bit more ground for her as well. You know, she's a horse that ran very well going 7 furlongs a mile at the start of her career, and it was that merry-go-round race last time out. But no, I think it's the same kind of thing. We saw what we saw from Siskiny yesterday. As far as American Sonia, I had notes from her when she ran in the Saratoga Oaks last year, and she was, she should be noted, the races came off the turf right after
You
that
want to
race.
show the replay of American Sonia in the Saratoga Oaks, guys? Thanks.
But I had notes from her that she really stacked up so favorably to her American counterpart. She had a lot of size, a lot of substance, that she really looked like she was a horse that would fit racing over here and more distance.
We didn't take the races off the turf after this race. We took the races off period and went home.
Yes.
This was the race where we canceled
Where we
the next
canceled,
race.
yes.
She ran extremely well in here.
Yeah.
Not only did the winner run very well, and she was a good horse, Elusive Princess, she was close to the pace, and this race was just falling apart. And I'll tell you something, I thought her last race was extremely good. She's a horse that can be forward and make her own position in these races. She was prominent last time. And I feel like she's a Euro who's coming off her best effort that's already run well over here as a 3-year-old, and she might have improved. I thought she was very, very dangerous shipping here. And the other thing about this race is it's such a super competitive race. My feeling was, listen, I'm not going to be surprised when Didia runs well or English Rose, and obviously Warlike Goddess. I just wanted bigger priced horses in this race. That's why I made the choices, because, and I think she's very, very dangerous. Let's take a look at Fed Rover, who I think will be the speed of the speed, though Be Your Best could be forward as well in here.
Be Your Best finally gets to run.
Yeah, I know, and finds a pretty tough spot here.
Yeah.
I have no idea what Horacio De Paz was thinking. I mean, he scratched the horse out of an allowance race, and now he's running a great. I'm teasing. Horacio said not to abuse him for this move.
She's had some very soft turf races that she's been entered in, and she's been looking for some firmer turf.
Mark Cassie does not have good numbers off of. I looked at 5 to 9 month layoffs in turf routes. Didn't have good numbers. Jenna wants to come on the show. Apparently, she's back.
Big win yesterday.
You think you're ready for this? You think you're ready for this, Jenna? Mark does not have good numbers. You can see off the layoffs. And listen, Fed Rover was very good last year. I feel like she was also opportunistic in a lot of situations.
I completely agree. Completely agree.
Now, let's take a look at Sparkle Blue and Aspen Grove coming out of the race at Churchill Downs. I thought both of these horses, and I bet on Aspen Grove in here, I thought they both got sensational rides and trips. And I just worry this race a cut below this race.
That was my feeling. This race came up so competitive, and for anybody that's ever complained about a short field or any questions like that, I mean, here is a big field where you can make a case for, I would say, almost every horse in this group. Incredibly competitive.
There aren't bums in this race. I agree.
None at all.
There's no filler in here.
For
Even
Aspen
Nisi
Grove,
Marie improved last time.
who got a win off of the layoff as well. For Aspen Grove, she did win the Belmont Oaks and then went and tried the boys against the Saratoga Derby, which didn't work out. And she seems like the type of filly that has not really taken a big step forward.
I agree. She's the same
kind
horse.
of where she was
and I
when
think
we
she's
first
just a
saw
little
her.
cut below these. And she did run well, too, in the paceless race at Tampa 2 back when second to Sparkle Blue. But I agree. Where is her faster race? I want to look at the Sheep's Head Bay, where Royalty Interest was able to wire the field. And obviously, McCulloch didn't win well. But I'm going to say this about it, McCulloch. I'm not ready to completely give up on her, though there's a chance a 5-year-old she's just not that good anymore. She ran well or better. She's just going to sit in the inside. She ran without cover in this race, and she's not a horse that's going to run her race running out there with no cover. So I can give her my excuse. But the one thing I'll say about this race, with all due respect, Star Fortress was way the best horse in here.
Was.
I mean, she's closing into the absolute crawl fest of all time. Now, if this race were a 1 mile and 3/8, I would absolutely love her here.
Me too.
But I think she's an improved horse, and distance will be her friend.
Yeah.
I'm afraid it's not really not enough distance for her, but I got to use her, and you have got her.
I
as well.
completely agree. She took a huge step forward. And one thing I will say about Royalty Interest, I didn't think it necessarily set up for her in here, but Eric Gansell needed the outrider to help him pull her up last time out. I mean, she was thriving out there.
She's not a speed horse. So if you
Exactly.
feel like she could improve, she improves as a horse, she can make a run at the end, and she's kind of an unknown. She is a horse that obviously benefited from dynamics, but she's still sort of an unwritten book. We'll move on to the last race, the Grade 1 DK horse Acorn, and I'm going to try to beat her, but let's be clear. Torpedo Anna may just be way too good for these horses, and her Oaks was an absolute tour de force.
She was very impressive. She beat Just FYI, who was just second best that
Like a
day. She
drum.
beat Regulatory Risk. She beat Ways and Means, who we did see come back to win yesterday
Very
as well,
impressively.
and was very impressive at a short
And
price.
she's the one that challenged Torpedo Anna in the
Yes.
front end, and Torpedo Anna just
Brushed
blew her
her
away.
off like
and
she
that's
was
why
nothing.
Ways and
Yeah.
Means. There's an argument in a different scenario. She might have run second in this race. Torpedo Anna is just an absolute beast.
She was dominant in this effort. I have become a big fan of hers. I thought she was really impressive. I like Where's My Ring too, but I ended
We'll
up
get to
just
her.
sticking with Torpedo Anna. And from what I've seen in the mornings watching her too, she just has come out great energy, and it's just awesome to see how she trains, and she just attacks her training, that kind of
No,
horse.
she's very good. Her Oakland race was terrific with a wide trip and just dominated the field. She's the goods. I'm not against her. I have a little thing, and I'll get to it with Where's My Ring, but I'd sort of picked her second. I was disappointed in Just FYI.
Me too.
And I like her. I've got her fourth. I'm not shocked. And we'll show her running second to Leslie's Rose as we sort of segue to her. I just felt like if Just FYI couldn't come close to Torpedo Anna with the perfect trip last time, why would I want to try to beat her? And if I want to try to beat Torpedo Anna, I want to use a horse like Leslie's Rose, who maybe didn't like the slop last time, because perfect trip or not, she was very good in her prior race, and she's been good in other races too.
And after that maiden race yesterday, I interviewed Todd Pletcher and asked about Leslie's Rose,
right.
and he said she didn't like the wet track at all, and he said she came out of the Oaks surprisingly well. And so but I think taking another shot with her in here, she absolutely could take a step forward. And look, I was a fan of Just FYI as a 2-year-old, but you always wonder with those horses who are so good at 2 if they take that step forward at 3 or if the others catch up.
I think she did take a step forward. It just may not have been a big
She's
enough
got a
step
good-
forward
yeah,
for her.
it's a
She's
good crop.
improved, and this is her third off a layoff. And I'm a fan. I hope she runs well. As far as Where's My Ring, here she is beating up on Regulatory Risk, who, good trip or not, ran very well when finishing third in the Oaks. She ran well in here. Has she run well enough to win? No. But she was an improving horse, good trip or not. She was putting it together, and obviously something went badly wrong last time out, much like Leslie's Rose. So I was looking for an alternative, not because I'm against Torpedo Anna. I just want to see it again on a dry track for her today. And the other thing is, they're going to probably be moving a little bit in this race. I think Where's My Ring's going to be forward, and Torpedo Anna now has the outside position. Now, she has run well with outside trips. Not against her. Just feel like Where's My Ring's one I want to give a little bit of a second chance to.
That's certainly fair. I thought I was impressed by her when she won the Gazelle, and she broke her maiden in style for sure. She didn't break that well in the Oaks either. And don't forget, she came from California. She's never seen a wet track like she had in the Oaks.
Well, unfortunately, they've seen more than their share of wet tracks out
Yeah.
there. Gunsong was dominant in winning last time in the Black Eyed Susan, and I like this horse and always looking to see Mark Hennig do well.
She ran very well
The
this day.
problem was, she overlaid this field. And then when the speeds didn't go and she's stalking a long shot in a moderate pace, she had to run well, and she is good. But she's also faced Leslie's Rose before, and Leslie's Rose has blown her off the track. She's good. This just may be a much tougher spot.
Yeah, she's got to face the big girls today and do it again.
Do we want to give a little love to My Main Squeeze as we show her winning the 8 bells? And I'm always in my heart rooting for the New York breds to do
too.
well. And this gave Najee Thompson an opportunity to pretend that he should have been actually at the Kentucky Derby weekend. He was sitting with me. He couldn't run to the winner's circle fast enough. It frankly was a little. Najee got married, by the way. We went to
Yes.
the wedding the other night. Congrats to Naj. I saw him yesterday.
And Najee Rahel, who was wonderful.
Yes, agree. It was a very nice time. It really was a
Yes,
nice
it really
wedding.
was.
It really was.
Yeah.
The company at my table notwithstanding, but other than that, it was
I
pretty
was
good.
next to him, so.
I was honored to be sitting next to Acacia.
Look, I really like My Main Squeeze as a horse. I loved her in the 8 bells cutting back. I know that the story, yes, that she was in heat before the Fantasy 2 back, but Listen, they're taking a shot in here. I just prefer a shorter.
That's what I was going to say. I'm not sure she couldn't be competitive in some level with these horses. And I think they're taking a shot, and it's the right thing to do, because you ask yourself after that, okay, we've answered the question at the distance. We don't need to go to the CCA Oaks. We don't need to go to the Alabama. We can go to a race like the Test if we want.
Absolutely.
So I agree with taking the shot in here. I worry that she's not going to get better with distance, and she'll need to get better with distance. And at the end of the day, I picked against her. 8-5 on Torpedo Anna might be an overlay.
Yeah, that's fair.
She's the goods. Going to be an amazing day, and it was a pleasure starting the day with you, as it always is, and just so happy the weather's good and seeing a big crowd here assembling even this early time, and the anticipation, which has been building for a long time. I think we have a chance to live up to it.
I think so too. And we have some stars on the program today as well with that rematch out of the Kentucky Oaks, the quality of the New York. That makes for a really fun day. So enjoy it and good luck, everybody.
Absolutely agree. Head over to Naira Bets as well to enhance your experience. Got to play through Naira Bets. Use the promo code Belmont25 and we'll give you a $25 bet on the Belmont, as well as that $200 deposit match bonus. We have a 20% boost on your first race. Opt in over at Naira Bets. Win the first race, you get a little 20% back. We also have many multi-day bets. There are doubles, the New York to the Belmont, the Acorn to the Belmont, the Intercontinental to the Belmont, the Just a Game to the Belmont. Pick and choose the ones that work well for you, hey, the Belmont Stakes, or play them all. 2-day pick 5, 2-day pick 6, all turf triple play. Details on those over at belmontstakes.com/specials. We have, I think that's it, to the show. FS2 from 12 to 6, FS1 from 6 to 7. Acacia, I imagine you'll be on for a good percentage of those 7 hours, 7 hours.
I think start around 2:45 or so and on to the end.
Raucous night last night. Stayed out your usual to about 2 in the morning, hitting the
Oh,
bars.
yeah.
Desperate
we went
Annie's,
up and down
Clancy's, and all the
Caroline
spots.
Street.
I often see you there. We're done, but we're really just getting started. The voice of Belmont Stakes Racing Festival, my man, Frank Miramati. He's up next with a reprise of the Scratch and Changes. Have a sensational day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.